My dad said, listen, bullock cart से BMW तक हम ले आए, अब BMW से Boeing तक तुम लेके जा सकते हो तो लेके जाओ. Relationships is one place where I see is where we make the biggest mistakes.
So should you get into a business relationship with people you know personally?
I've always lost out if I did business with a friend.
So from actually being a farmer in Assam to now, how many countries do you export your perfumes?
300 stores at the moment, and we export to 50 countries.
That is such an inspirational story.
Thank you.
Wow. What a gorgeous mansion this is. From being a farmer in the northeast of India to an established perfumer in the UAE. From a mere 500 rupees or 25 dirhams to now owning a business worth a multi-million dollars. The story of Haji Ajmal Ali is nothing short of a remarkable success story. So let's go and meet the King of Oudh and CEO of Ajmal Perfumes, Mr. Abdullah, at his gorgeous mansion in Dubai. Hello Abdullah.
Kamiya, welcome home.
Beautiful house, I must say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a gift from our father to our entire family.
The seeds of Ajmal Perfumes were sown by Abdullah's grandfather in the year 1951 as a farmer turned businessman selling Assam's oud to the bigger cities. In the last 73 years, the brand has now expanded with a rich portfolio of over 300 perfumes and more than 300 exclusive stores. Brand Ajmal Perfumes is now spreading its smell in over 50 countries and in over 30 duty-free locations and international airlines. While Abdullah entered the business only a few years ago, his obsession for perfumes started when he could barely speak.
I once sucked on a piece of oud and I could barely walk, and I broke into a big rash because of that. Plus, being the eldest of the third generation, it was always expected that you would come and join and sort of hopefully hold the mantle someday. I did my MBA, I came back. My first training was with my chacha, God bless his soul, he passed away. He was my mentor and he was the nose of the company. So literally it was frustrating. Every morning you have to sit there, smell the same ingredient for a week. Write your impressions about it every day. And then evening you have to sit in the shop so that you can interact with customers, find out and understand the real business and the communication that you have. What I learned from my elders, padhai bahut achhi cheez hai, whatever you've learned is important, but you learn life and business only when you get screwed, okay? So that's when you will learn business. And thokar kha ke hi aadmi seekhta hai. Honestly, that is the thing. Not everybody, even the biggest business people, and I'm sure you've met quite a lot of them, I've seen some of the videos, they all say, right, because they failed and they failed and they failed, but it's the ability to stand up again is what makes them successful and others not.
Haji Ajmal Ali was a rice farmer in Ali Nagar, a small village located in Hojai in Assam. He discovered a unique wood in his neighborhood that could be transformed into a traditional perfume.
He was a farmer as he was growing up. His father, my great-grandfather, was a farmer his entire life, and they had zero idea about business. He tried his hands into a few other things and stuff. So somebody said, you know, there is this commodity called oud. He's like, what is this? And literally it used to grow in the backyard, but nobody knew. Well, few people knew. So then somebody introduced it that, you know, there is a commodity that comes from this tree called the agarwood tree. Then you cut it and then you polish it and everything. The process is quite manual and it's very skilled, and it takes years of practice to actually do that. So initially he went to the jungle with the workers, used to get it and then trade it to the person who would then go to Bombay, where Arabs used to come at that time to trade. So Arabs have been trading with India for centuries, right? Predominantly at that time it was spices, textiles and perfumes.
Okay.
So that's how the initial stage started. Then typically being an entrepreneurial mindset, he said, yaar ye beach ke aadmi ko, I need to understand the customer. So he started coming to Bombay. Then he started to meet with these customers who themselves were traders as well.
Right.
So then at one point in the 60s, he moved the entire family.
Right.
Then he said, you know what, let me go to the final customer.
Right.
And then he started traveling to the Gulf. In fact, the first time he landed in UAE was not even in Dubai, because Dubai didn't have an airport.
Right.
Can you imagine that? It was in Sharjah. Sharjah was the airport he landed in.
So from actually being a farmer in Assam to now, how many countries do you export your perfumes to, and how many stores do you have worldwide?
So we have over 300 stores at the moment, and we export to 50 countries. And the plan is to keep growing.
That is such an inspirational story.
Thank you.
Wow. Coming from a family of farmers, it wasn't easy for Haji Ajmal to find his foot in the world of business. He escaped uninformed from home, and as luck would have it, his savings were stolen too.
So his father was completely anti-business. He said, to do business, you have to cheat people. Okay. So he was completely anti-business. At that time, train used to go through the town, village, maybe once in a week or something. My great-granddad found out that his name was Ajmal. Great-granddad locked the doors of the house, right? Next day he's not going to be able to go get the train. So my grandmother actually helped him escape. She opened one of the back windows or whatever. Those were not fancy houses, they were mud houses. What I don't think is, understand why my great-grandfather didn't think about that somebody can open it. But then you remember, those times women would not take that kind of chance and stuff like that and go against the family. But she was very supportive. Women in our family have been a very, very strong not just inspiration, but partners, and a huge support to us. Right. So that was the first one. But I think my great-grandfather must have abused him enough, because by the time he landed in Churchgate, God knows how many days later, he had 500 rupees, and typical like the Indian film, somebody stole it. So he had absolutely zilch. So, but fortunately, he somehow got from Churchgate to Muhammad Ali Road, because that was the epicenter of the perfumery business, the Arabic perfumery business. And there was a person from Assam who used to help out people who would come for business. So he had a home and they would stay there, etc. He loaned him some money, and that's how he started.
There was no looking back for Mr. Ajmal as his talented kids, including Abdullah's father, took the business forward. Abdullah, with his Western exposure, brought a fusion of traditional and modern scents coming together. He not only carried the legacy of Ajmal Perfumes as a brand, but also drove the same vision with a lot of passion.
When my grandfather was in business, he focused more on the oud side of the business and some of the oils like the saffron, the rose and all of that. When he passed the business down to my father and my uncles, then they took it to the next level, where they put up a factory where there was more concoctions and perfumes being done. Retail came at that time, and quite a bit of expansion happened during that period as well. But I must mention again my uncle, the late Nazir Ajmal. He was the one, because he was specialized in the Oriental, in Arabic or Indian perfumery, and he had the exposure of the West. He was the first person in the region who actually did a fusion of the two. So when I joined the business, he trained me and he said, listen, your, not expertise, but your exposure is far more Western, because I studied in UK and I spent a lot of time there. So he said, you should focus more on the Occidental, the Western style of perfumery, which was a very small proportion of our business. Today, I would say that because of that encouragement and the learning that I had, today 50% of our business is from that side of the business, right? Which I can say, yes, I did contribute somewhat to. Now, my mission is literally to a brand transformation. I want to take the brand truly global. And in my eyes, global means you need to be in at least 120 countries of notable business. You know, when I joined the business, my dad said, listen, bullock cart से BMW तक हम ले आए, अब BMW से Boeing तक तुम लेके जा सकते हो तो लेके जाओ.
While agarwood is grown in various parts of the world, Abdulla confirms that there is something special about the oud found in Assam.
Indian oud is considered by most as the best quality of oud. Our family has put a lot of work into R&D and innovation. So we have patents in 7 countries on the inoculation of oud, speeding up the process of harvesting, etc. Assam is the only place in India which grows oud. People have tried it in different parts, it doesn't work.
Right.
And vice versa, we've tried a few things. We've tried to grow sandalwood in Assam, but the same thing, I mean, Mysore sandalwood doesn't, the same chemical composition doesn't happen.
Break it down for us. How is a perfume actually made?
The best way to sort of analogize what we do is just take it as a dish of food, right?
Okay.
So let's say the chef is the creator, is the perfumer, and you as a customer are enjoying the dish that is being prepared by whoever it is. Now, there are tons of ingredients that go into it, exactly like a dish. So let's say, I don't know, a biryani, okay? God knows how many types of biryanis out there.
Right.
So eventually what you get, and you said it rightly, when you put a perfume, you don't think what's gone behind the scenes, what's gone into it, etc. It's exactly the same way when you eat, even at home. Your mother or your grandmother or father or whoever has made it, they put a lot of effort, but most importantly, everything has been done creatively and measured. Only then it makes a whole. It's like you look at a painting or you look at an art piece, some people appreciate it, others look at it and say, what the hell is this? We create fragrances for royalties, we've done for celebrities, both Bollywood and Hollywood, Hollywood more. We are very proud of our roots, we're very proud of where we come from, nationality, about our ancestry.
You've mentioned your family so many times.
Yeah.
All of you all working together. I'm sure it's not easy, but it's also a part of Indian culture of just being together.
Honestly, again, I would give a lot of credit to my grandma for this. She was not an educated woman, but she would say some very, very wise things and certain actions that she did, full of wisdom. I really have huge respect for my late mom and my aunts and every one of them. They've managed to keep that strength together very, very well.
Right.
But it started with the concept कि भाई अपना kitchen वो एक तरीका होता है बोलने का. Basically, you have your own home.
Right.
तो किचन बोलने का मतलब ये होता है कि तुम्हारा अपना घर होगा, ठीक है, तो साथ पे काम करेंगे, खाना खाएंगे every now and then, तो प्यार रहेगा. So that's when I decided, you know, I'll come back and we'll live together. And when Dad said, you know what, now we need to build a new house. So he briefed the architect. He said, I want one villa so that we can see it from outside is actually one. But inside, it should be able to actually become 3 individual villas. So God forbid tomorrow you're pissed at each other. So you can, and it's actually like that, but you can't see it. Right. So there are doors, hidden doors everywhere.
Wow.
We can close it and it becomes independent. Each area has its own majlis like this, has a pantry, maid's room, the stairs going to the parking, access to the kitchen downstairs, upstairs, each individual bedrooms, the whole works. And again, Dad, after Mom's passing, has always done something which is very unique. He never did, you know, oh, I'm going to have a meeting with my kids, you know, tell them something, keep the girls out. No, he would bring all of them together and they needed to know this is where we stand. Right. These are the decisions. This is what I have. Idhar ye hai. Okay? So he never kept the women or the bahus of the family out of discussions, and especially out of important decisions.
Right.
He made sure that they also have a say.
Right.
And again, it comes from my grandmother. She did the same thing.
So how many people live in this house now?
9 people who live in this house.
Okay.
Working with family is great, but it always comes with its own set of challenges. And for that, Ajmal Perfumes has something called as the Family Governance Mandate.
When Dada used to give my grandmother, let's say 500 rupees, she'd always keep 50 rupees separately. Then when it went up to 5,000 rupees, it became 500 rupees. She never intentionally realized that it was always 10%.
Yeah.
So when my dad and uncles asked, she said कि 450 रुपये जो है ना ये मेरे बच्चों के लिए है, 50 रुपया उन बच्चों के लिए जो मेरे पास नहीं है लेकिन जिनके पास कोई और नहीं है. So we now made a mandate that 10%, and it is a legal mandate in our, what we have is also a family governance mandate. So it has a lot of rules, who can join, who can leave.
Family governance.
Family governance mandate that goes on for a few generations.
Right.
People can't just do whatever they feel like it. आएंगे जाएंगे, किसी का divorce हो गया, you know, वो sue कर रहे हैं. So we have a lot of rules that basically insulates the business security. Of course there are going to be problems in families.
Yeah.
But that should not affect the business. From that, we have the mandate where after our zakat and everything, taxes, 10% of the profits, absolute net, first goes to charity, and then the dividends and everything is announced.
Let's move on. It is called Confessions of a CEO.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions, which I'm sure every entrepreneur, every CEO goes through, and you've got to be quick with your answer. Best part about being your own boss?
There is no best part of being your own boss, because there is far too much responsibility, and as somebody at the top said, it is very lonely at the top.
Okay, so worst part about being your own boss?
There is a huge amount of responsibilities, and therefore there is a lot of sleepless nights.
No leaves?
But then I'm used to that. Frankly
Yeah.
speaking, I haven't, this year I'm going for a 1-month holiday. I haven't had a month holiday in last 20 years. No more than 2 weeks at a time. Okay, I would take two weeks or something.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
Have you ever regretted rejecting a business offer?
Oh, of course, because I mean, again, I can't name it,
Yeah.
but there was an opportunity good few years ago. But then having said that, I was not at the helm at that time. But we were offered to get into partnership with a group which has excelled today. They've gone huge today. I know we're all taught that jealousy is not a good thing,
Yeah.
but competitive jealousy, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, that was
I
going to
think-
be my next question. Ever felt jealous of somebody else's success?
Of course you do, and then you have to tell yourself, and that's where the upbringing comes in. Alhamdulillah, good for them. Okay, good for them. They're doing better. You should learn from that. Okay, but I would never allow myself a sleepless night because somebody else is doing better. If they got a better deal than us, yes, that I would kick myself for it.
Yeah.
And the person who actually lost it.
Ever regretted taking a business decision, but it was too late to correct?
Relationships is one place where I see is where we make the biggest mistakes.
So should you get into a business relationship with people you know personally? Is that what you mean?
I've always lost out if I did business with a friend. I've always lost friends. Even if it's a small personal investment, I have always, 100%, I've lost my friend. Whether the business lost eventually, you sold it, you got money, all that is a different story. But I have always lost the friend. So I now have a rule, 2 rules. 1, never do business with friends. Number 2, never lend money to friends.
Ever tolerated an employee's tantrum just to keep the work going?
Oh, sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ever fired an underperforming employee?
Multiple times. I used to have a business coach. He taught me this. There is a term called compassionate cruelty. And the best example for that is a surgeon. Because he's being cruel to you as he's putting a scalpel, but it is compassion because he has to save your life. So for me, my business is so many people's life. And entrepreneurs are the epitome of this. Extremely impatient. Okay, and I'm sure you've met almost all the people, first generation, huh?
Yeah.
Not us. We are a little more aram se, but you should not become too aram se also. You should be a little impatient, and it's important.
Wow, that's a great lesson coming in. And the importance of business coach, you mentioned. I don't know how many entrepreneurs out there actually have a business coach. What is the role of a business coach, and why did you feel the need of it?
All the big guys around the world have CEO coaches, okay? Because, see, even if you are a brilliant businessman, there is no way in hell that you're taking the best decisions every day, okay? So, for me, it was two reasons. One is I wanted somebody who, from outside, who's going to really evaluate me and tell me where I need to work at. Okay, so what I need to get better. Like a sportsman has a coach or they have trainers, etc. Right? You might be good at something, but they still do that training, and the trainer still kicks their ass and says, you know, this you need to work on this. That's number one. Number two, in this case, especially my coach's case, he's very, very specialized in creating a format on how to get the best out of people.
Have you ever felt like quitting, retiring, or just giving up on your business?
Giving up, no. Quitting, yeah, there are, there have been times, because obviously, you see, I also have a father who's very demanding.
Okay.
Okay. I love him to bits, and he can be, I don't want to say critical, but he is not an easy person, which is great because it's taught me a lot of things. So sometimes you feel, yaar, itna headache leke, is it worth it? Okay. So there are times, but I've never thought about quitting.
Yeah.
And
So
Ajmal is in my blood.
Okay.
Okay. I will, inshallah, as long as God wills it, I will only make it grow.
Proud moment till date, business standpoint, or even otherwise, moment where you really felt a lot of pride.
The way the succession happened, I became CEO. So my father was the CEO,
Right.
and there was no discussion of succession. One of my younger cousins, who's been in the business for a good 12 years, but he's much younger than I am, he said, I just want to put this out there, but there is one person who I believe has been underappreciated. He's worked his entire life over here, and I believe that there needs to be something done to appreciate this individual. I actually thought that this was somebody, one of two people that is in the system. And he said, it's Abdulla Bhai. And that just got a conversation started. Next thing you know, next morning, and this can only happen if it's a family business.
Yeah.
If it's a professionally run board, etc., it never would have happened. Next thing you know, next day they took a vote and it was unanimously I was made CEO.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Of course, other than that, the emotional moments like the first salary, giving it to your mom, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
My mom framed it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
she framed it and gave it to me years later. She passed in 15. I worked for Benetton. At that time, Benetton was huge.
United Colors of Better.
United Colors of Benetton. It was huge. And so I worked first in the back-end warehouse. They liked the work, etc. Then they moved me to sales front. But I do aspire, and that's where the competition comes in. I aspire to achieve where people can say, "Oh, ये कहते ना कि ये अब्दुल्ला जो है अमीरुद्दीन का बेटा है." And someday I aspire कि people will say, "अमीरुद्दीन ये वो अब्दुल्ला का बाप है."
Oh.
That will be the ultimate compliment for me.
I'm sure you'll get that soon.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. It's been wonderful talking to
Thank you.
hearing your journey, and of course, you've inspired me and a lot of us who are watching this.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you
really
so
been a
much.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.